Furry First Responders, the whisper of echo. The world above was a muffled, white oblivion. 10 feet beneath the packed snow of the Swiss Alps, the only sound was the frantic thump of a human heart. For Lars, a skier caught in yesterday's avalanche, it was the drum of fading hope. His beacon had failed. The cold was a creeping, final embrace. Then he heard it, not from above, but through the snow itself. A soft, rhythmic shush shush shush, like a heartbeat made of movement. It grew closer, a persistent, focused tunneling. Suddenly, a shower of ice crystals, a puff of warm breath, and a face appeared. Framed in fur, dusted with snow, were 2 deep brown eyes, intelligent and calm. A black nose, cold and wet, gently nudged his cheek. It was Koda, a German Shepherd Border Collie mix, and he was not alone. A faint blue light on his harness began to pulse, transmitting a GPS signal to the surface. Lashed securely to his chest was a small, flexible tube. Lars, with trembling fingers, pulled it to his mouth. Clean, warm air flowed, a miniature, life-saving oxygen supply. On the surface, Koda's partner, Anya, watched the signal stabilize on her tablet. "Live find, and he's deployed the O," she said, her voice tight with relief. The team moved with renewed urgency. Koda hadn't just located Lars. He'd begun the first phase of treatment. Koda was a graduate Level 3 avalanche responder, one of the new generations of Furry First Responders. His training, overseen by the Canine Crisis Institute, was a blend of extreme operant conditioning, olfactory physics, and profound symbiotic bonding. He wasn't just searching for human scent. He was trained to distinguish the specific volatile organic compounds exhaled in a state of hypothermic trauma from those of a day hiker. He understood snowpack density and could identify the faintest whisper of an air pocket. The oxygen delivery system on his harness was activated by applying gentle, sustained pressure with his muzzle to a victim's torso, a behavior shaped over 2 years using positive reinforcement with a custom-designed game. The bond that made this possible was forged not on the mountain, but in quiet moments. Anya and Koda shared a language beyond commands. A slight tilt of Anya's head meant reassess, a specific soft whistle meant danger, unseen. Their trust was absolute. In training, Anya had once buried herself in a rubble pile for 8 hours, letting Koda find her, his reward not just a toy, but her joyful emergence, proving the partnership's core premise. Together, we bring life back. The CCI facility, nestled in a remote Canadian valley, was where this extraordinary interspecies alliance was built. Here, dogs like Koda trained alongside other species. In a large, climate-controlled hangar stood a disaster simulation zone, a chaotic jumble of concrete, metal, and plumbing. Here, Nimbus worked. A 6-year-old African gray parrot, Nimbus perched on the shoulder of her handler, Eli. Her wings were flight feather trimmed for safety, but her mind soared. As a duo, they were Disaster Zone Navigators. "Scan, Nimbus," Eli murmured. Nimbus hopped onto a protruding rebar, her gray body stark against the dusty gray rubble. Her head cocked, her intelligent eyes missing nothing. She wasn't looking for victims. She was mapping structural instability. "Crack," she stated, in a clear digital tone she'd learned the word from a sensor's alarm. She tapped her beak on a fissure in a concrete slab. "Hiss," she identified the sound of a leaking pipe Eli couldn't yet hear. She moved through spaces too small for drones, too treacherous for initial human entry, building a real-time acoustic and visual map. She'd been trained using associative games with complex shapes and sounds. Her innate flock warning calls repurposed into a diagnostic lexicon. Her reward was a coveted head scratch from Eli and the puzzle piece nut, a walnut she had to unscrew from a custom bolt. For Nimbus, the ruined city was just another complex puzzle, and Eli was her flock. The true test came not in simulation, but in chaos. A 7.2 earthquake shattered a Mediterranean port city. The international fur team deployed. Koda and Anya worked the pancaked apartment blocks. The scent picture was overwhelming. Blood, dust, fear, leaking gas. Koda moved with laser focus, ignoring the surface-level noise. He alerted at a collapsed stairwell, a deep stack scenario. His bark was precise, 2 sharp yaps, a pause, a single yap, the code for live adult, trapped deep, conscious. He then laid down, pressing his body against the debris, a behavior indicating he could hear the victim responding. Near the shattered harbor, Nimbus and Eli scanned a partially submerged warehouse. The air was thick with salt and decay. Nimbus fluttered to a sagging metal beam. "Creak," she announced. Then, with startling urgency, she used a non-trained, flock alarm cry she'd never used in drills, a sharp, trilling shriek. Eli froze. 2 seconds later, the beam groaned and gave way, crushing the space where he would have stepped. She had not just identified a hazard, she had predicted its failure, translating observed micro-movements into a life-saving warning. For 72 hours, they worked. Koda located 17 people, deploying oxygen twice. Nimbus cleared acres of unstable ground, her diagnoses allowing human rescue teams to enter safely. A Capuchin monkey fur named Pax, with his dexterous hands, was able to thread microcameras and water tubes into spaces no machine could reach. On the final day, Koda found a little girl in a void beneath a school bus. She was conscious, talking to him. As Anya and the team worked to shore up the structure, Koda did something not in any manual. He whined softly and began to lick the girl's outstretched fingers through a gap. He held her gaze, his tail giving a slow, steady wag, a metronome of comfort in the darkness. It was not a trained skill, but the profound, bonded empathy that was the foundation of all the training. Later, at the makeshift base, exhausted beyond measure, Anya sat with Koda's head in her lap. Eli offered Nimbus a walnut, which she cracked open with a satisfied click. The parrot leaned over, gently preening a strand of Eli's dirty hair. They were not pets with tricks. They were not biological robots. They were partners. They were linguists of scent and sound, navigators of the impossible, bridges across the chasm of catastrophe. They were furry and feathered first responders, and their intelligence, honed by rigorous science and welded by deep bond, whispered a defiant promise into the ruins: "You are not lost. We are here."